My name is Doug DeMorrow. Been in Arkadelphia since 1972. Student at Henderson, taught at Henderson, and now I have this company and we make marimbas. We ship all over the country and also ship throughout the world. That's oak, but the rest of this is rosewood. And sometime today, I think there's a whole other pallet coming. In a way that was kind of actually going to start out as a mistake. It creates patterns, so the light reflects off of it and looks like 3D effect. I mean, you can make it where this is actually pretty flat, but we can make it where the light will rotate off of it as you walk around it. It has depth to it. So on the more expensive instruments, we do this on the brass. The local shop, it's actually done this way off of a rod. A CNC machine comes in, makes the diameter, puts in the bevel, cups it out, comes across, comes down and cuts that out, cuts one off, cuts the other off. Cycles about, I'm thinking like 40 seconds to do those two pieces. And I used to do these by hand on a machine lathe. 15 minutes to do one. So the CNC machine, way faster. This is going to be a certain length of bar, and then what's left over, then we'll make smaller. It becomes smaller, be narrower and thinner, and obviously shorter. So it comes as kind of then we cut it to length. And what that does is it kind of takes me out of the equation of looking at a board and deciding how to cut it. Without the stuff on the walls, the sound level in here it's just impossible. You couldn't hear anything. So tune. See where this is. So, like in a bar this size, we're actually tuning 3 different pitches at the same time. So on the strobe, there's this bottom line, and then the next pitch is 2 lines above it, and then we actually go to a completely different pitch, which is shown up on here. And then as I fine tune, eventually I'll set the strobe where I want as far as the positioning of the actual pitch, and then those wheels will stop. I'll do it to where the strobe stops, and that tells you you're on frequency.
My name's Dan Lidster. We have a company called Encore Mallets, and we started in 1982, so it's been around almost 30 years now. I used to play marimba in Chicago, and I found if I had a regular yarn-covered marimba mallet, these are mallets for the marimba that are covered with yarn, that I'd play in restaurants, and you wouldn't get a very good projection. It would sound kind of muffled and you couldn't hear very well. But I got some mallets from Mexico, and they were straight latex mallets. There's no yarn on them. It's actually the sap of a rubber tree. We have a couple ladies that to put the yarn on the mallet, we use a machine. The machine actually turns it like this. It's kind of like we used to do them by hand before we had a machine, and you would wrap the yarn around it like this and turn the mallet and wrap it. Now the machine does that. Essentially it sits this way, It has an arm that goes around this way and it wraps it. And then, of course, you have to still tie it off by hand. You can see it has like a little knotted area there where you go around in a circle. And on the bottom it has some stitching as well, just to keep the yarn, hold it on tight so it doesn't fall off. So
This one is around 8,500. I make some that are less than that and some that are more. So they go up to about 12,500. And then there's one that I have wood for that I've been saving for 2 years probably, that the wood is exceptional, and that will be an expensive instrument because it's so, the wood is so rare that it has to, the price needs to be adjusted. This instrument weighs about 350 pounds, somewhere in that range. Tubes are brass, so there's a lot of weight in the resonator tubes. They're always signed. And the more expensive ones, I actually burn in I burn it in with and I don't have an example, but I'll burn in my first name and then the DeMorrow. So it ends up being about that big. And it's actually burned in with take an old file and ground it flat with a point on it. So I just heat it with a torch and just etch it in. But they're all signed on the back. I don't use any kind of fancy logo. And the number stands for, this is the 52nd instrument in the year of 2011. So, let's see here.